I met a gypsy.
All right, what's up, Gypsy Gang? We're back doing a little bit of a breakdown because I've been getting flamed on the Instagram and the old YouTube. And I think we're all missing the point, to be honest. I think that there's a little bit of a bigger issue at play here than whether Dean did the wrong thing. And I think that that's what everyone is kind of missing here because, as we'll see, I'll give my perspective, obviously not being at the race, but we're going to pause, we're going to look at the flaggers, look at the overall situation, and Dean has already come out. Dean's already said, I fucked up, I did the wrong thing. But yeah, I just think that there's a few problems with this whole deal. And I think that the social media reaction to it on the rider front is one of the big parts of the problem. So we're just going to look through this footage and we're just going to have a bit of a look at the like the incident itself. So the way that I'm seeing this as well is the blue flag is definitely out. We need to go back a little bit. So Dean is obviously getting blue flags, right? The problem is he now has Kyle Chisholm in front of him, who he's lapping. So at this point, Dean's gone past Ferrandis, and he doesn't know that Ferrandis has let Roczen and Webb by. So in Dean's mind, the bike that's behind him right now is Dylan Ferrandis. So go back a bit, Ronan. So yeah, and then we'll pause it as they're coming into that rhythm section. So blue flags are waving, but I'm not sure what's to say. Like if I'm Dean and there's blue flags waving and I've got Chisholm in front of me, and I'm in 11th position, so yeah, pause, get ready to pause it. So go a little bit further. So pause there. Pause. That dude is not waving the blue flag right there. So the blue flag is down. So Dean, the people that have sent all the screenshots of like Dean getting the blue flag, everybody needs to take into consideration that he's about to lap Kyle Chisholm and Justin Bogle. So as far as Dean's concerned, he hasn't looked back. So he doesn't know that it's the lead rider. So in his mind, Dylan Ferrandis is still behind him. He's seeing blue flags, but he is also lapping riders. So this next turn is the one that looks the worst for Dean because they are waving the blue flag, right? But you'll see that Chisholm is on his outside. So as he is coming into this next turn, waving blue flag, Chisholm pulls off the racing line and lets Dean go by. So we'll just go forward a little bit, Ronan. So pause. So Dean is seeing a waving blue flag there, but he's also seeing Chisholm pull over for that blue flag. So at no point with Dean not looking back yet to see if it's Roczen, still thinking it's Ferrandis. Like, it's very obvious to us because we've got this bird's eye view. We can see that it actually is Ken and Coop behind Dino. But if Dino hasn't looked back, I'm not sure how he's supposed to know. So there's a blue flag there. That's waving for Chisholm. Chisholm gets out of the way. We'll keep going. So now Dean has Bogle in front of him. So looking, no flags yet. So wait, get ready to pause, I think. So yeah, pause. There, go back a tiny bit. So yeah, that flagger there that's an inactive flagger. So we can put that one to bed. So keep going. So now there's Dean. So this is the last lap. So then people also pointed out that there was the blue flag on the finish line. That blue flag, the flagger pulled it away to then wave the white flag. So in all of these, like I'm just playing devil's advocate for Dean, who thinks that he's lapping riders and has Dylan Ferrandis behind him still for the 10th, 11th position. So we'll play now. Then this one, blue flag waving there. This is the one that, so pause it. I mean, it's not exactly waving aggressively either. That's definitely one where you can make the case that Dean could have seen that blue flag. Again, he's got riders in front of him. So now, get ready to pause there. There's no waving blue flag going there. So like in a perfect world, if you want to circumvent this entire situation, you get that flagger there that walks out like aggressively onto, like he's on the track right there, and wave the blue flag and point at Dean Wilson. That to me is like a really clear indication of like, you are getting lapped, waving the blue flag, pointing at you. So that isn't happening. And again, Dino's got Bogle in front of him here. So we'll play this. And then this obviously is where shit gets fucked up. So, I mean, this incident here, you could argue this all day. And I don't think that is really what we're here to talk about. Like, coulda, shoulda, woulda, a million things could have gone differently. If Ken cases the jump so that he could follow Dean's inside line, Cooper would have had to follow there. You could talk about this ending the whole time. Could Ken have run it in on Cooper at any point? That is all sort of a moot point. So anyway, the race ends. Coop gets the dub. Roczen's pissed on the podium, which like it makes sense that Kenny's pissed. He's just been done on the last lap by Coop again. But yeah, in terms of the issue itself, I definitely can see why Dean did not think that those flags were him. That is all the point that I'm making. All right, so we'll go up to that top, the first tab there. So here's the thing that we kind of need to like start taking into consideration. 26 laps for the main event. So scroll down. Scroll down. So this will give you an idea of how big of a problem lappers are in 2021. They've changed the main events, I think last year, to be 20 minutes instead of 20 laps. Last weekend was 29 laps. This weekend was 26 laps. So you've got Austin Politelli, 6 laps down. Justin Bogle, 3 laps down. Kyle Chisholm, 2 laps down. Ferrandis went a lap down. So Dino didn't even end up getting lapped in the end. So you've got from 12th down, goes between 1 and 6 laps down. So we've just got a major problem in general with lappers. And these riders are having to deal with lappers in a totally new context. So then there's that. So then go to Dino's Instagram. Dino does the honorable thing and basically gets on Instagram instantly and says, first off, I fucked up. I fully own this. I never knew it was the leaders behind me. Kenny, I'm sorry and sincerely apologize. I ruined your race and wish I could take it back. I know the fans are pissed and team, which I would be too. I hate that I was that guy in the way and ruined a win and a race. I should have been more aware of who was behind me. I just got locked in on the guys ahead. You guys can tear me apart in the comments. Do what you got to do, but I can't apologize enough for pretty much being the idiot of the race. Once again, I'm sorry. Sucks to be that guy, Dean. Very, very genuine apology. Now, this is a reply from Ken. Accepted also, though. So, accepted but not accepted but not accepted. Also, though, put yourself in my shoes. It is extra big because these points are valuable and this win was mine. If you weren't in front of me for 3/4 of a lap, 3 points here, 4 points last weekend. I mean, it's starting to get kind of funny. As if it isn't already difficult enough to lead the championship, then I get 7 points taken away from me. Anyway, don't want to hold grudges. Just be aware of your surroundings. Thank you. So this brings us to the next point. So actually, we'll go to Ken's Instagram real quick. I'll just read what he says. So this is on Ken's Instagram. Can you put this up on the screen as well? Yeah, sick. I don't really know what to say. Just another bad situation. I don't know. Should have been my win. I'm sure everyone saw what was going on, but after being stuck behind Dean for too long, I ended up hitting his back wheel over the wall and almost crashed and then almost jumped into the back of him on that last lap. And just like that, I slipped in a second. Lots of valuable points again that got taken. Anyway, Dean Wilson and I are cool. Not going to hold grudges and get over it. We have lots of racing ahead of us. Seems like I never pick the easy route. So you can take whatever you want from that statement. So go to that second Racer X article there. So this was Ken's response last weekend. So this is the second weekend in a row where flags have caused, in Ken's opinion, issues with the points. So before I get into my night, I wanted to say that I'm disappointed in how this situation was handled. So I probably should give context. So last weekend, and I've seen the footage of this as well. I did look back at it, and I can't say... Ken definitely jumped, and whether you could argue intent, whatever, the AMA did... They were pretty consistent with this ruling. So take that for whatever it is. I think this speaks to the point that I'm going to get to in a minute. So Ken, before I get into my night, wanted to say that I'm disappointed in how this situation was handled. I just want to give you guys an idea of what the deal was. Put yourself under my helmet. There is a video with a better angle that the AMA has, which made it even more clear. I got docked 4 championship points because of jumping on a red cross flag, even though my vision at this part of the track was blocked because Dylan took the outside line, and as I came around the sand turn, he was positioned perfectly in front of the flag and I couldn't see it. I've never disrespected the red cross flag ever before, and in my eyes, this was clearly not a blatant violation. The situation was very unique, and the timing of it was so special that a warning or a fine would have been a lot more appropriate. I've spoken my piece. I'm just disappointed with the decision, especially since it says in black and white in the rulebook, a situation like this, points docked, instead of a fine is not fair. It just simply wasn't blatant. There were more factors than just simply jumping on the red cross flag. Anyway, I'll just deal with it. This means no red plate. It's all good though. So yeah, I mean, Ken is essentially arguing that it wasn't blatant and that he shouldn't be docked the points that he was. So in the same way that Ken can argue that he didn't see the flag and that it wasn't blatant, could Dean not argue the exact same thing? Obviously, Dean's just apologized and said it was his fault and took the blame. But I feel like he could say the exact same thing, like, hey, I thought it was Ferrandis behind me. There were blue flags, but I was also lapping 2 riders on the exact same lap that you were trying to lap me. So, I don't know. What I'm taking from this, and like, I'm not trying to take anyone's side. I got love for Ken and Dean. There's obviously a bigger thing that's happening over these last 2 weeks, and that's just plain and simple that the flags aren't doing their job. Yeah, we're in this completely new era of racing now where these guys are racing for 29 laps, 26 laps as opposed to 20 laps. And essentially, the flagging system that we've got is used at Perris Raceway and AMA Supercross. It's all the same shit. And it's like, I don't know who the flaggers are. I don't know if it's the same guys that go to every single race. But when you watch the footage, there isn't like this intensity in the flags. I mean, the guy on the finish line jump is pulling the blue flag out to wave the white flag. So does that mean that Dean's not getting lapped because it's the last? Like, I think there's so much room for improvement. And I think that this is analogous to the Formula One using the same flagging system as the local go-kart track. Because essentially that's what's happening in Supercross. You've got Perris Raceway that uses the same flags as Monster Energy Supercross. So if we've had, for Ken, his argument is set a 7-point swing in the championship because of flags. And it's essentially the same argument. Like what Dean would argue, even though he's not, again, he's just apologized and he's taken it like a man. But the argument that you make for Dean is that he was lapping riders. So, yeah, I saw the blue flags, but I was also lapping riders in front of me. Ken makes the argument of I shouldn't be docked 4 points because it wasn't blatant. I couldn't see the flag. So something needs to change in the sport when it comes to the way that we're trying to signal these riders. So, yeah, there's a couple ways that this could be done. And obviously, before you make any drastic changes to the sport, how do we just make the current system better? So I think there's just room generally for the whole flag system to improve. I'm not sure if it's, like I said, I'm not sure if it's the same people every weekend. I'm not sure how the organization of the flag is run. And I've texted a few people that have a massive involvement in the sport, and they also don't know. So I did try and do some research on this before I talked about it, but I just didn't get an answer. No one really seems to know. So this is like essentially race control in Formula One. So there's like race control, it's its own division, it sits in a tower, it has all the camera angles, it makes all the decisions. So AMA has that, like they black flag Chad, like, so they do deal with these on-track situations. So first port of call would be, let's just make the flaggers better. The best example is directly before the incident, there was a flagger in the whoops and then a flagger on the start straight that actually wasn't waving the blue flag. If the flagger that was on the start straight points at Dean Wilson and like he's already on the track, step into the track even more, make yourself extremely obvious, and then wave the blue flag. At the very start, I think it was the first heat with Roczen and Barsha, you can see on the telecast official literally running across the track in front of the whole 20 riders. So those guys being on a track obviously isn't the issue. I mean, on the extreme end of it, you could have in-ear communication in the same way that you see in four-wheel sports. So obviously there's a few things with this, like this one could kind of get complicated, and there's probably a good reason that AMA hasn't done this, because it does change the dynamic of the sport. You can have riders, team managers communicating with riders. You can have some team order stuff that comes in. Like there's definitely, if we did the in-ear communication thing, it would change the way that the sport worked. Definitely. Is that good? Is that bad? There's probably for and against on either side. But if you had in-ear communication that was solely for like race control to talk to the riders, and you could directly say rider 15 being lapped, that's not too much of a distraction. I'm sure that you could do it on the start straight or over a Supercross triple, or have like a beep that came in like a second or two before, so that it wasn't just a voice popping in at the rider's head. I mean, you could argue that back and forwards, but that's definitely an option. In Formula One, they've got the blue flags that come on their dash. They got blue flags that come on their mirror. They've got blue LED lights that are on the track. And then they've also got the in-ear communication to the teams and race control. So there's like 5 ways that Formula One cars deal with the problem of lappers. So MotoGP doesn't do the in-ear thing. So there is an argument there to be made for like the whole motorcycling thing. It's a little bit different. Doesn't want to throw you out. Whatever. You could argue that back and forward. I'm fine with either way. I'm definitely not sold on that. I think it's something worth looking at. Definitely would change the sport. You could argue it back and forward. But I think the takeaway is that you look at a sport like Formula One and there's 5 different points of contact that these guys have for lappers. In our sport, we've got 1, and they're obviously not doing the job. So the other thing is, yeah, MotoGP, they've got everything on a dash. So they've got flags, they've got the LEDs, and then they've got a dashboard. There is room to have something on a bar pad. Maybe it's like there's a bar pad that can be developed, whether you're running a flat or a crossbar, that does blink blue LEDs at you. That is an option. And then you could also just take it a little bit, like the flags a step further, and have the blue LEDs on the track. I think that would be a little bit hard to manage, to be honest, because the track, it's such a short lap time. It's a 40-second lap time. I honestly think that a LED either on like a bar pad or like a similar to the Get timer, that the data acquisition that the Get, it sits on like the front fender. I mean, I could see all like putting a little LED on the front of the fender, pointed back at the riders, that blinks red for a red cross or a red flag, blue if you're being lapped. And then I think the yellow flags are fine. I really don't think we have too much issues when it comes to the yellow flags. Sweet. In terms of how Kenny reacted to it, I mean, I just don't think that you can really... I don't think that you can just expect the perfect response out of a rider directly after a race when they've shoved the microphone in their face. I think that, again, when you zoom out and you kind of look back on it, you've had some time, you've watched the video. I think that in the perfect world, if Kenny nailed his podium speech, I think what he should say on the podium is, hey, Dean should have moved. This whole thing would have been averted. But at the end of the day, there's obviously something going on with the flagging situation because it cost me last week. It's cost me again this week. We need to look at how we can make the flag thing better. That is the perfect response, but in no way, shape or form would I expect Ken to just nail that right after a main event. You're just processing all of this information. So yeah, I mean, the reaction from Ken, for the people that asked me about that, like, dude, none of us are in his shoes with that mic and camera in our face directly after a race. So I don't think that you'll see a guy nail it directly off the podium like that. But yeah, I honestly think that all of these riders need to get together and say, like, we need something else than just the way that this flag situation is being conducted, because it's just obviously not working. And we're only 3 rounds in, and 2 rounds have been like marred by flagging disputes. I think the real big issue here is ultimately in just like the way that this got handled. Like, Dean goes on Instagram instantly and puts out a statement apologizing. It's obviously not a purposeful thing. There's obviously no team orders at play for this kind of shit. Like, the whole KTM gas husky thing, it's like, that's why you shouldn't have 3. Like, the comments that I've seen are fucking ridiculous. And they're all directed at Dean. And it's like, okay, the riders can only work within what they've got. There's obviously a problem with the flags, because last weekend, Kenny's complaining there's a problem that cost him 4 points. Now there's a new problem this weekend that revolves around flags that has cost him another 3 points. So there's obviously something going on here. And to just instantly go to social media and fucking flame one of the best and nicest dudes in the sport that 24 laps into this main event is the people's champ of the sport. It's so fucking fickle. And that is the most disappointing part about this. Don't fucking flame the riders that are out there. Let's look at ways to improve the sport. Like, everybody just wants to focus in on like this tiny little thing. Like the one corner. You should have done this. You should have done that. You should have seen this. There was this flag here. Obviously, there's a bigger problem. Zoom out. Have some fucking perspective. And then use that perspective to try and make it better going forward. There's obviously an issue. We should fucking fix it. We should all look at fixing it. We should have discussions around how you avoid this shit happening again. Because instantly you just draw the line and you go, either Dean did this on purpose and then he's a cunt and then he should be fined, he should be whatever. I don't really think there's that many people saying Dean did it on purpose. So if Dean didn't do it on purpose, and then last weekend, Ken, who also has claimed that he didn't do it on purpose, so there's a problem that needs to be solved. Rant over.